Have you ever caught yourself talking to yourself? Maybe you're rehearsing an important conversation, working through a problem out loud, or simply narrating your day as you go about your tasks. If so, you're not alone. Self-talk is a fascinating phenomenon that's far more common than you might think. But is it normal? And what does it say about our minds? Let's dive into the world of self-talk and uncover the science, psychology, and societal implications of this intriguing behavior. Buckle up, because we're about to embark on a journey that might just change the way you think about that little voice in your head. First things first, what exactly is self-talk? Simply put, it's the internal dialogue we have with ourselves, whether it's silent or spoken aloud. It's that running commentary in your mind, the pep talks you give yourself before a big presentation, or even the frustrated mutterings when you're stuck in traffic. But here's where it gets interesting. Self-talk isn't just a quirky habit. It's a fundamental aspect of human cognition that plays a crucial role in how we think, feel, and behave. Psychologists have been studying this phenomenon for decades, and what they've discovered might surprise you. Let's start with a bit of history. The concept of self-talk has been around for centuries, with ancient philosophers like Plato and Aristotle pondering the nature of inner dialogue. But it wasn't until the 20th century that psychologists began to seriously investigate its impact on our mental processes. One of the pioneers in this field was Lev Vygotsky, a Soviet psychologist who proposed that self-talk is actually a crucial step in cognitive development. He observed that young children often talk to themselves while playing or problem-solving, and theorized that this external speech gradually becomes internalized as we grow older, forming the basis of our inner voice. But what about adults who continue to talk to themselves out loud? Is this a sign of mental illness, as some might fear? The short answer is not necessarily. In fact, research suggests that self-talk can be a perfectly normal and even beneficial behavior. A study published in the Quarterly Journal of Experimental Psychology found that talking to yourself can actually improve your cognitive performance. The researchers asked participants to search for specific objects in a supermarket and found that those who repeated the name of the item out loud were more successful in finding it quickly. Why does this work? It seems that verbalizing our thoughts can help focus our attention and reinforce our memory. It's like giving our brain an extra boost by engaging multiple senses at once. But self-talk isn't just about finding your keys or remembering where you parked. It can have profound effects on our emotional well-being and mental health. Positive self-talk has been linked to increased self-esteem, better stress management, and even improved athletic performance. Think about it. How often have you given yourself a pep talk before a job interview or a first date? That's self-talk in action, and it can be a powerful tool for boosting confidence and reducing anxiety. On the flip side, negative self-talk can be detrimental to our mental health. Those harsh inner critics that tell us we're not good enough or that we're bound to fail can contribute to depression, anxiety, and low self-esteem. This is where the practice of cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, comes in, helping people identify and challenge these negative thought patterns. But let's get back to the question at hand. Is it normal to self-talk? The answer, according to psychologists, is a resounding yes. In fact, it's estimated that we have around 70,000 thoughts per day, many of which manifest as some form of self-talk. Dr. Ethan Kross, a psychologist at the University of Michigan, has extensively researched the power of self-talk. He suggests that talking to ourselves in the third person can be particularly effective for emotional regulation. For example, instead of saying, "I can do this," try "you can do this," or use your own name. This simple shift in perspective can create psychological distance, allowing us to approach problems more objectively. Now, you might be wondering, if self-talk is so normal and potentially beneficial, why do we often feel embarrassed when caught doing it in public? This brings us to the societal implications of self-talk. Despite its prevalence, there's still a stigma attached to talking to oneself, especially in Western cultures. This stigma likely stems from historical associations between audible self-talk and mental illness. In the past, hearing voices or talking to oneself was often seen as a sign of psychosis or schizophrenia. However, it's crucial to distinguish between normal self-talk and the auditory hallucinations associated with certain mental health conditions. Normal self-talk is conscious and controllable, while hallucinations are involuntary and often distressing. The good news is that as our understanding of mental health and cognitive processes improves, the stigma around self-talk is gradually diminishing. More people are recognizing it as a normal, even useful behavior. That said, there are still some potential drawbacks to excessive or inappropriate self-talk. For one, it can be distracting in certain environments, like workplaces or quiet public spaces. It's important to be mindful of our surroundings and adjust our behavior accordingly. Additionally, relying too heavily on self-talk might sometimes hinder our ability to interact effectively with others. If we're constantly engaged in internal dialogue, we might miss out on important social cues or opportunities for meaningful conversation. But for the most part, the benefits of self-talk seem to outweigh the drawbacks. So, how can we harness the power of this innate cognitive tool? First, pay attention to the content of your self-talk. Is it predominantly positive or negative? If you find yourself constantly criticizing or doubting yourself, try to consciously shift towards more supportive and encouraging internal dialogue. Second, experiment with different forms of self-talk. Some people find silent internal dialogue most effective, while others benefit from speaking out loud. You might even try writing down your thoughts, which can provide a similar cognitive boost. Third, use self-talk strategically. When facing a challenging task, try talking yourself through the steps. When preparing for a stressful situation, give yourself a pep talk. When trying to regulate your emotions, try addressing yourself in the third person. And finally, don't be afraid to embrace your inner monologue. Remember, it's a normal and potentially powerful aspect of human cognition. As we wrap up our exploration of self-talk, let's take a moment to consider the broader implications of this phenomenon. The fact that we can engage in internal dialogue raises fascinating questions about consciousness, self-awareness, and the nature of thought itself. Some philosophers and cognitive scientists argue that our capacity for self-talk is closely linked to our sense of self and our ability to reflect on our own thoughts and experiences. It's a uniquely human trait that sets us apart from other species and plays a crucial role in our complex cognitive abilities. Moreover, the study of self-talk opens up exciting possibilities for fields like artificial intelligence and cognitive enhancement. Could we develop AI systems that engage in something akin to self-talk to improve their problem-solving abilities? Might we find ways to optimize our own internal dialogue for better cognitive performance? These are questions that researchers are just beginning to explore, and the answers could have profound implications for our understanding of the human mind and our technological future. So, the next time you catch yourself talking to yourself, whether it's a whispered reminder, a silent pep talk, or a full-blown conversation, remember, you're not weird or crazy. You're engaging in a fundamental human behavior that's been with us since the dawn of consciousness. Embrace your inner voice. Listen to it, shape it, and use it to your advantage. After all, it might just be the most important conversation you have all day. And who knows? Maybe talking to yourself is the first step to truly understanding yourself. Now, I have to ask, what do you think about all this? Has this exploration changed your perspective on self-talk? Will you be more aware of your inner dialogue from now on? And most importantly, will you give yourself permission to chat with yourself without feeling self-conscious? Remember, in the grand symphony of human cognition, your self-talk is just one instrument, but it's an instrument you can learn to play with skill and intention. So go ahead, strike up a conversation with yourself. You might be surprised at what you discover.